Breaking, Iran in chaos, regime shaken as U.S. forces stand ready to act.
It's 9:40 p.m. on the 12th of January 2026. In Tehran, the night is not quiet. Sirens cut through the air as flames rise from government buildings. The power flickers. Phones stop working. Internet goes dark. On the streets, people are not chanting anymore. They are running. Inside a United States command center thousands of miles away, no one is shouting. No one panics. A long warning tone echoes across the room and does not stop. Screens switch from live news to satellite images. Red markers appear over the city, one by one. This is not a protest anymore. This is collapse. Moments earlier, President Donald Trump speaks publicly. His words are short and clear. If the Iranian government keeps killing protesters, the United States will act. He says the United States will strike where it hurts most. There is no walk back, no soft language. Back in Tehran, police lines break. Some officers leave, others stand frozen. Smoke fills entire blocks. People know something has changed. They believe this is the point of no return. And now, in Washington, the question is no longer what is happening in Iran. The question is what the United States does next. What is happening in Iran tonight is not just unrest, it is a turning point. For weeks, people across the country have been under pressure from rising prices, shortages, and a collapsing economy. At first, the protests were about daily life, food costs, fuel costs, jobs that no longer pay enough to survive. But everything changed when the government answered protests with executions and mass arrests. That single move erased fear. When a government tells its own people they will be punished no matter what, those people stop calculating risk. They stop asking how bad it can get. They decide there is nothing left to lose. Tehran matters because this city holds the system together. This is where political power, security forces, and command networks are centered. When control slips here, it does not stay local. It spreads fast, city to city, unit to unit. For the people on the streets, this is no longer about reform. They are not asking for changes inside the system. They are rejecting the system itself. That is why police hesitation matters so much. When officers pull back or refuse orders, a dangerous space opens. Either civilians take control or the state answers with overwhelming force. For the United States, this moment carries heavy weight. Iran is not isolated. It sits at the center of regional power, energy routes, and long-running rivalries. Any collapse or intervention affects allies, markets, and military balance across the Middle East. This is why Washington is watching so closely. Not because of speeches, but because of timing. History shows that when unrest reaches this level, events move faster than leaders expect. And tonight, every decision made or delayed will shape what comes next. Because once this line is crossed, there is no easy way back. The first response does not come with missiles or explosions. It comes quietly. In the early hours after Trump's warning, radar screens inside United States operations centers begin to change. One flight appears, then another, then several more. Heavy transport aircraft lift off from bases in North America and Europe. They do not announce where they are going, but their paths all point the same way, east. Inside the aircraft, there is no cheering. Soldiers sit shoulder to shoulder, gear locked in place, faces calm but tight. No one asks questions. They already know this is not a drill. You can hear it in the silence. Checklists are read, doors are sealed, engines rise to full power. This is how preparation looks before history turns. At the same time, inside Iran, the government reacts fast but uneven. Air defense units are activated. Command posts light up with orders. But the response is not clean. Reports come in of police units refusing to move. Some stations go quiet. Others simply vanish from the map. In Tehran, crowds notice the change. Fewer uniforms, less resistance. The air feels different. Dangerous, but open. People move faster, louder. They sense the state pulling back, even if only by inches. Then Iran shuts down the internet completely. But the blackout fails. Images still leak out. Fires burning. Wounded protesters carried through smoke. Every image lands on screens in Washington within minutes. Each one adds pressure. Each one tightens the clock. This is the first real exchange between the two sides. No shots fired yet, just positioning, just signals. And right here, as both sides test each other's limits, the question becomes unavoidable. If the United States steps in, is this protection or escalation? And if Iran pushes back, does this turn into open conflict? If you're watching this unfold and feel the tension building between these two sides, press 1 if you think the United States will act, or press 9 if you think Iran will force a wider clash. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss what happens next. Because once forces begin to move, stopping them becomes far harder than launching them. And tonight, that momentum is already building. Escalation does not arrive with a single strike. It builds in layers. As the night moves toward early morning, movement increases across the region. United States aircraft continue to arrive, not in waves, but in steady succession. Refueling tankers stay in the air longer than usual. Transport planes land, unload, and lift off again. This is not a show of force, it is positioning. In situations like this, every mile matters. Every hour matters. Even a small delay can change the outcome. Inside Iran, the response hardens. The government realizes the streets are not calming down. Orders shift from control to containment. Heavier security units are moved toward key districts. Checkpoints return, but fewer than before. The manpower is not there anymore. Police fatigue becomes visible. Officers have been on duty for days. Many have not gone home. Some are unpaid. Others hear rumors that senior officials are preparing exits. When trust breaks at the top, it collapses fast at the bottom. In close confrontations, small details decide survival. A vehicle turning 5 degrees too late. A radio call that does not go through. A unit that does not arrive on time. Tonight, those small failures are stacking up. On the streets, the crowd senses it. They push harder. Fires spread faster. When one area is reinforced, another opens up. The state cannot be everywhere at once. No sound but the crackle of burning debris and distant sirens. In Washington, analysts mark timelines. This phase is the most dangerous. Not full war, not peace. The space in between, where miscalculation causes irreversible damage. Every escalation step sends a message. Iran signals defiance. The United States signals readiness. Neither side uses diplomatic language anymore. Silence replaces it. And that silence carries weight. Because once escalation reaches this stage, stepping back is no longer just a political choice. It becomes a test of credibility, strength, and control. Leaders on both sides understand that backing down now would reshape how the world sees them, not just today, but for years to come. Behind closed doors, contingency plans are reviewed again and again, not because leaders want to use them, but because history shows that moments like this rarely slow down. They accelerate. And both sides know the next phase will be harder to stop than this one. The twist does not come from the streets. It comes from the air. As analysts track the growing unrest, a different pattern starts to stand out. Cargo aircraft, Russian-built heavy lifters, repeated flights on tight schedules between Iran and Russia. No public explanation, no media coverage, just data. These flights are not random. They leave at the same hours. They land briefly. They depart heavy. Inside intelligence rooms, no one says the word out loud at first, but everyone thinks it. This looks less like support and more like evacuation. Not people, assets. Something valuable enough to move fast and quietly. At the same time, financial pressure inside Iran explodes. A major private bank tied to regime-linked elites collapses. Accounts freeze. Depositors panic. Protesters do not target the bank by accident. They go straight for records, vaults, and symbols of wealth. This is when the mood shifts again. On the streets, people begin to believe the leadership is preparing to run. That belief is dangerous. When a population thinks those in power are escaping with the country's wealth, anger turns personal, organized, relentless. Inside government buildings, officials stop giving interviews. Some disappear completely. Rumors spread that families of senior figures are already out of the country. The crowd does not know the full picture yet. They do not see the flight manifests or the satellite data, but they feel it. They feel that something is being taken from them while they bleed in the streets. And right now, this is the question dividing the world. Are Iran's leaders preparing to flee, or is this just another warning signal before something even bigger erupts? Press 1 if you believe the regime is running out of time, press 9 if you think this move leads straight to war. And subscribe to stay with us as this story unfolds. Because if the leaders are leaving, then the clock is no longer ticking forward. It is counting down. The climax does not arrive with a single blast. It arrives when all sides realize there is no room left to maneuver. Late into the night, reports from inside Iran turn darker. Hospitals fill beyond capacity. Doctors work without pause. Official numbers stop updating. No statements, no explanations. Silence again. Then the streets erupt louder than before. Near key government complexes, security forces fire warning shots. The crowd does not scatter. For a few seconds, everything freezes. Smoke hangs in the air. Fires crackle. Someone screams. Then the movement surges back, stronger. Inside a United States operations room, a short radio message cuts through the low hum of machines. Confirm increased casualties. A pause. Confirmed. Screens update. Red zones expand. Analysts exchange quick looks but say nothing. They do not need to. Everyone understands what this means. President Trump's earlier warning now feels closer, heavier. If more people are killed, the pressure to respond becomes real, not theoretical. Plans that were once backups move to the front of the table. Not because anyone wants to use them, but because waiting is starting to carry its own cost. Inside Iran's command structure, confusion spreads, orders overlap, units receive conflicting instructions. Some commanders hesitate, others push forward too hard. In moments like this, control slips fastest at the top. A brief power outage hits part of Tehran. Darkness. Then generators kick in. The pause lasts only seconds, but it feels longer to everyone watching. For 3 full seconds after a blast near a government building, the crowd goes completely silent. Then the shouting returns. Louder, angrier, unified. This is the point where restraint becomes fragile, where one wrong decision, one misread signal can turn pressure into fire. Nothing has been launched yet. No strike, no formal order. But inside planning rooms, clocks are now marked in minutes, not days. Every update arrives faster than the last. Each report carries more weight than the one before it. At this stage, the most dangerous thing is not action. It is momentum. And as this night drags on, every side involved understands one hard truth. Once momentum breaks loose, no warning can pull it back. By the morning of the 13th of January 2026, Iran wakes up changed. The streets are quieter, not because anger is gone, but because exhaustion has set in. Burned vehicles sit where they were left. Government buildings remain sealed. In several districts, police presence is thin or missing entirely. People move carefully, watching corners, listening for sirens that may or may not come back. Hospitals continue to treat the injured. Doctors speak in low voices. Families search for names. Official statements are brief and vague. No clear numbers. No clear plan. What is clear is this: the government has lost control of the narrative. Inside Iran, trust is broken. People no longer believe promises or warnings. They believe what they saw with their own eyes. That shift does not reverse easily. Once it happens, every future order feels weaker than the last. Outside Iran, the shock spreads fast. Markets react. Energy analysts raise alerts. Allies hold emergency calls. Military planners across the region adjust their posture, not because war has started, but because uncertainty has. Uncertainty is often more dangerous than conflict itself. For the United States, this moment becomes a test of balance. Acting too fast risks escalation. Waiting too long risks credibility. Every option carries cost. Every delay carries risk. This is where strategy replaces emotion and where small decisions shape large outcomes. No strike has been ordered. No public deadline announced. But forces remain in place. Plans stay active. The message is clear without being spoken. The Iranian leadership faces its own dilemma. crack down harder and risk total collapse, or step back and risk losing power anyway. History shows that regimes under this kind of pressure rarely find a clean exit. What happens next may not come with an explosion. It may come with a resignation, a fracture, a sudden shift no one expects. Tonight was not the end of the crisis. It was the point where the world realized this crisis will not stay inside Iran. And as diplomats, generals, and civilians all wait for the next signal, one reality hangs in the air. The decisions made now will shape the region for years, not days. And whatever comes next will echo far beyond its borders.